Thank you all very much. By my count, I am the 26th speaker out of 26, so I'm pleased to see that the room isn't empty, and bear with me, we're in the home stretch here. I'm just going to give you a quick update on a couple of things from MANS's perspective. First, a little bit of background information. The Nova Scotia's mining and quarrying industry employs about 5,500 people, and we generate about $420 million a year in economic activity. These are the latest figures out last year from DNR commissioned research. That's the good news. The bad news is that we're down about 800 jobs over the last 5-6 years and down about $80 million a year in economic output. The Ivany Commission endorsed the mining and quarrying industry as a key one for the future of the province's economy, and in particular in rural areas where we do employ most of our folks. It also highlighted the need for an efficient and modern regulatory regime. PricewaterhouseCoopers does a report every year or two comparing mining industries across the country, and in particular the tax and royalty payments that each provincial industry pays to its provincial government. For the second year in a row or more, Nova Scotia was the highest cost jurisdiction in the country in terms of taxes and royalty payments to the province. The Fraser Institute does an annual survey of global mining executives, and the most recent report said that for the 5th year in a row, Nova Scotia is viewed as the least attractive jurisdiction in Canada in which to invest for our industry. In almost every government meeting we open with this slide, and almost every, to the point that I suspect some folks here at DNR could sing right along with me. In almost every letter we send to the government, we start with this information. And we do that to make 2 points. First of all, we're actually a very large and important industry in this province. Again, in particular in the rural areas, we are part of the solution to the depopulation issue and to the economic challenges our rural areas face. At the same time, we clearly face a lot of challenges, some of which are obviously linked to the state of the global economy, some of which, quite frankly, are made in Nova Scotia problems, and we turn frequently to the provincial government to help us with those. We're constantly talking to the province about a wide range of policy issues that we feel need to be addressed in order to help the industry grow and create jobs for Nova Scotians. I want to be clear. The provincial government does do a lot of things for us, and it's quite possible that while trying to work with the province on improving the regulatory regime and improving the policy environment, that we don't acknowledge that enough. So for the DNR folks who are in the room and others, I want to say that you do, in fact, do a lot for us. The fact that we're having this conversation at Geology Matters, which is organized each year by DNR, is a good example of that. The fact that they invite me back each year to criticize government policies from this stage, I think, is another example of that and of the excellent working relationship that we do have with them. A couple other things I want to mention that are positives. The Mineral Incentive Program has been a very important program in the last couple of years, supporting prospecting and exploration in the province through a very difficult time. We hope the government will make that a permanent program now that its 3-year run is sunsetting this year. In Nova Scotia, we arguably have the best process in the country for consulting with First Nations. The provincial government has played a huge role in making that happen. Of course, as well, the KMK and the Mi'kmaq are key to that. And another really positive thing is the one window process, which Gretchen mentioned, which pulls together people from all the key departments for project proponents to help them work through how to move their proposals forward. These are all good things. They are just examples. They're not a comprehensive list, and we do want to acknowledge that. At the same time, government policies too often are an obstacle for the industry. They often don't do enough to help support the industry and help it grow and create jobs. And so while there are absolutely a bunch of very positive things, it is too often a case of 1 step forward, 2 steps back. The fuel tax rebate, which the minister referenced last night in his speech to us at the reception. For many years, the provincial government has given a fuel tax rebate to other resource industries in the province for fuel consumed in things like fishing boats, farm tractors, forestry harvesters. That's because fuel tax is supposed to be a user pay system. Companies and people who use the public road and highway system should help pay for them. By that same principle, we ought to have had this rebate for the last several decades because, of course, the vast majority of fuel that we use are used not on the public road and highway system, but on mine and quarry sites. And in 2013, we ran a very aggressive campaign, which we called the Fuel Tax Fairness Campaign, asking quite simply to be treated fairly compared to other resource industries, to get the same rebate that they get, based on the same policy principle. As we kept telling the government, you won't see this truck in traffic, so the government shouldn't be taxing its fuel as though you would. The good news is that the Liberals in opposition supported us on this. The Liberals, during the 2013 election campaign, gave us an unequivocal commitment that they were going to include us in the rebate. And the good news is that since forming the government, they have said several times since, including again, Minister Churchill last night, that they are going to extend the rebate to our industry starting in the spring 2015 budget. It will be phased in over 3 years, and this is fantastic news. This is a big win for the industry and a great example of the sort of action that we need the provincial government to continue to take. This is going to save the industry about $2.6 million a year in fuel tax payments that we should never have been paying, and it's going to allow producers in particular in the province to reinvest in their operations, make them more efficient, and create more jobs. Just as important as the financial savings is the signal this sends that the province is open for business for our industry. And so we applaud this, and we're delighted, and I could go on and on and on about how fantastic a decision this is. One step forward, to be certain. The government announced a couple of weeks ago a new program called the Capital Investment Tax Credit, which will provide a 15% tax incentive to companies doing capital investment programs, clearing a $15 million threshold. This sounded fantastic to us until we started looking into it, and you guessed it, other resource industries are going to be eligible for this, and the mining and quarrying industry will not be. It's very disappointing, obviously, that the government is going to make the same mistake with the tax credit that it has committed to fixing with the fuel tax rebate. That's difficult to understand. We're talking to the government to see what can be done about that, but at this point, the news does not look good. So that is certainly a step back. Another step back is the claim staking fee hike that was done in 2013. Prior to August 2013, Nova Scotia already had very high claim staking fees, and the reason for that is that in Nova Scotia, it is required that you pay an annual renewal fee each year for your claims, and the size of the fee increases the longer you hold the claims. This makes it a very expensive system in this province. For example, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario don't require annual renewals. Newfoundland requires renewals only once every 5 years, making staking ground in those provinces much less expensive. We have a couple examples up there which just illustrate that this has increased the cost for claim staking in this province by thousands of dollars for a lot of claims holders. And it is at a time, and as many people in this room know, when those claims holders don't generate any revenue and they're holding on to those claims for many years, working them, advancing them, getting them closer to the point we hope where they can turn into an actual mine. And quite simply, a lot of those claims holders simply can't afford the fee increases, which came into effect in August 2013 when the government increased them by 75% across the board. They were high compared to other provinces prior to the fee hike, and now they're 75% higher than what they were. This puts our claim staking fees on average about 53% higher than neighboring New Brunswick's and 621% higher than Newfoundland's. I'm not generally one for making pros and cons lists when making a decision, but I guess some people do that, so we thought we'd try to help the government out by doing one for them. On the claim staking fee hike, on the pros side of the board, it will generate an additional $75,000 to $85,000 a year in incremental revenue for the government. Not even a rounding error on a provincial budget of over $9 billion a year. On the con side, I'm not going to read them all to you, but it really boils down to the fact that the harm done to the industry is completely disproportional to the tiny amount of revenue that this generates for the government. And we're looking to the provincial government to reverse, at the very least, reverse the fees to what they were prior to the fee hike, preferably to get us below that. That's 2 steps back, but I'm going to throw in one more. The Protected Lands Plan, which was released in 2013. The plan is to protect over 13% of the province's land mass. This puts us really out of step with our neighboring Atlantic provinces, and you can see a couple of percentages there and just how much higher we are going to be from them. At 13+%, we will actually be second in the country in terms of removing a percentage of provincial land mass from economic usage. So we're putting ourselves out of step, we're putting ourselves at an economic disadvantage. At the same time, we accept it. It creates huge challenges for our industry, but we accept it. as proud Nova Scotians, as people, we all understand the importance of natural lands. We all understand and appreciate the beauty of them, the importance in terms of our quality of life here in Nova Scotia. And if there is one thing that Nova Scotians are proud of, certainly it is how beautiful our province is. And so, unlike some, we are not asking the government to roll back that 13%. We accept it, despite the challenges it creates for us. What we are asking the government to do is to simply bring a little bit of balance to the protected lands plan, and that is to insert a land swap mechanism, which would allow mining companies, if they see mineral potential in an area that is protected, to purchase an area of land that is roughly of equal size, roughly of equal ecological value, and swap that out for an area that is protected so that the mineral development can potentially continue to take place, and at the same time, the overall portfolio of protected lands owned by the government will remain the same and, who knows, maybe even improved. This is an imperfect solution for us. These would be, difficult deals to arrange. They would be regulated by Nova Scotia Environment. No doubt, Environment would hold our industry to a high standard on those, just as it does on everything else. But to us, that is simply a way to try to bring a little bit of balance to this policy to help ensure that we continue to protect our natural lands and the beauty of the province while also allowing economic development to occur and jobs to be created. I'm going to stop with the negatives there. We are very pleased with the news that was announced yesterday about the Mineral Resources Act review. The Deputy Minister of Natural Resources, Frank Dunn, announced yesterday that their goal is to have legislation before the legislature in spring 2015, which is an aggressive timeline. We applaud that. We appreciate that that is going to move forward at a rapid pace. From our perspective, the key goal of the review has to be to help the industry grow and create jobs. Gretchen and some others beat us to it. I think about a year and a half ago, they submitted their paper to DNR. We were slower off the mark, but we still submitted it to them almost a year ago to the day, in November 2013. So a lot of the consultation work, a lot of the opinions around this, the issues under review have been expressed, and we're glad to see that the government's going to move forward expeditiously on this. It is absolutely key that we get this right. If we get this right, this is going to help the industry create jobs and grow and create economic opportunity for Nova Scotians for years to come. At the same time, if we get it wrong, it is going to be an obstacle for us for years to come. The Act has not been reviewed comprehensively since the internet was invented. The world has changed a little bit, so it's terrific that we're going to get on with this, and we hope that a lot of the right decisions get made through that process. Enough with the policy stuff. About a year and a half ago, we launched something called Not Your Grandfather's Mining Industry, which is a public relations and educational campaign that we have. We have notyourgrandfathersmining.ca is a website where we provide a lot of information in layman's language that explains the industry, how it works, how it's regulated, and helps people understand. A lot of the things that Gretchen was talking about, I think we have and we need to continue to embrace in terms of the need to do a better job explaining ourselves to the public. We need to learn, certainly, from the recent experience of fracking, the recent experience of the Alton gas storage project, and just continue to do a better job reaching out to people, consulting, explaining ourselves. That's not to say we haven't been doing a good job, but continuous improvement in this, I think, is key. And as part of this campaign, we do a lot of outreach to federal, provincial, municipal politicians, news conferences about reclamation in order to help address a lot of the misconceptions about the industry's environmental impact. It's not so much under this campaign, but we did spend, as Gretchen said, 2 days back in February locked in a room with folks from DNR and other government departments and from various community and environmental groups around the province. And a lot of what Gretchen told you about the outcome of that is absolutely accurate. The thing I thought was terrific about it, at the very end of the 2 days, we had kind of a final session where we talked about what we learned or what the feelings were in the room about how it had gone. It was amazing. The clear consensus that this was a positive experience, that it was easier to talk than people expected when they walked in. Everybody was polite and respectful. People, at the end of the day, are people. We all want to protect the environment. We all want our children to be able to have jobs here and live in the province and to have a productive economy. we agreed to disagree on a number of things, obviously, but the dialogue, I think, was fantastic. And so kudos to the Sierra Club and the folks who organized that, and I think that's all part of what our industry needs to continue to do. A couple things that we have done under the Not Your Grandfather's brand in the last year. We've gotten about a fifth of all members of the Legislative Assembly out for mine tours. You see a lot of smiling faces there. These are terrific opportunities to educate policymakers about the industry, how we work, how professional we are, how high the standards are that the industry meets. A couple of weeks ago, I was chatting with one of the MLAs who had done a tour with us back in the spring, and she commented about all these things, and that when she gets questions or complaints from constituents about the mine in her area, she talks about about that tour and how professional she found the operation to be, and she had a lot of the information then at her fingertips about what, you know, the way the companies in the industry operates. And so this will be an ongoing effort for us to, again, just to try to get out and do a better job explaining ourselves, in this case, to folks in government. Back in the spring, we released, we launched a new page on the notyourgrandfathersmining.ca site called Rock My World. It features a bunch of younger people in the industry, a lot of women in the industry, people with a lot of knowledge and technical expertise. You know, geologists, environmental science experts, engineers. A lot of these things are contrary to what people think of our industry. The old images of soot-covered faces and pickaxes. We're a very modern, efficient, responsible, safe, and knowledge-based industry. And so we do everything we can to try to highlight that. As part of that, we are the highest paying natural resource industry in Nova Scotia with an average annual wage of over $50,000. If you look on the province's Department of Finance website, that puts us in the same category as financial services in Nova Scotia. Puts us well ahead of other resource industries, construction, and a lot of the other industries that people might more naturally want to put us in the same category with. One more thing, the Mining Rocks Video Contest is a new program for us, which we launched 2 months ago. We are trying to get junior high and high school kids from one end of the province to the other to enter videos into this contest, short videos about virtually any aspect of the industry that they want to explore and talk about and that they find interesting. We have 4 different categories and $9,000 in prizes on the table for it. And it is a way for us to try to reach out, as Garth was talking about, and engage more with young people, to educate them about the industry, help them understand why it is so important, and that we are a modern and responsible and safe industry. It is also turning into a very good platform for us to reach out to other folks as well. Again, Natural Resource Minister Churchill is one of the judges for the contest. Cape Breton Regional Municipality Mayor Cecil Clark is another. And my own personal favorite, the one I am most excited about, is that Member 2 Chief Terry Paul is one of the judges for the contest as well. Which we're really pleased about. We have been running a bilingual ad in the main Aboriginal newspaper in Atlantic Canada. Bilingual in Canada usually means English-French. In this case, it's English-Mi'kmaq. And we are getting bilingual posters into Aboriginal schools as best we can. And through the contest, we have been able to send info to literally hundreds of teachers and folks in the education system across the province. And so it's been a good couple of months on that, where there's a few months yet until the deadline for entries. But we're really pleased about it and the feedback we're getting. And, you know, we don't have any doubt that if we can reach the kids, that their smarts and creativity are going to produce some fantastic things for us. I like to end each year with a video myself. I still, as a kid, remember the excitement of walking into the classroom and seeing that the TV had been wheeled in so the teacher could show us a movie. And so I like to try to recreate a little bit of that excitement for each of you here, especially where I'm the last speaker in the entire conference today. Last year I showed you a video we had just released called We Give Back, which is about reclamation and features various reclaimed mines and quarries across the province. Again, we use that in almost every government meeting we do because it is such an effective tool for addressing the misconceptions about the industry's environmental impact. Next year, I'm hoping, if I'm lucky enough to be invited back by the good folks at DNR, I'm hoping to show you a couple of videos from the student video contest. A little bit of fun just to close out this year, though. We're going to show you a video that MANS did as part of promoting the contest to the kids, our movie trailer style video. I think the kids are going to do better, but still, we figured we would try to lead by example. That's it for me, unless anybody has any questions. People may be fleeing for the exits pretty quickly, though. Thank you. Thanks very much.